Episode 511. With a lake this vast and less than 100 people active in it, creating a chance encounter really is quite difficult. The five of them climbed all the way ashore without encountering any more guild players. They scanned the shoreline one more time but found nothing. They headed straight for Sin City. Sin City was far from as deserted as Thousand Waves Lake at this moment. Under normal circumstances, the highest level players should have been grinding here. With so many players in a single server, it's only natural that a huge number of them would be at the same level. In Sin City now, players above level 37 were everywhere.
There's a lot of people over here. That's a bit of a pain.
The five of them arrived at the main gate of the Sin City dungeon prison. Looking inside, they saw quite a few dungeon teams, many characters sporting guild tags above their heads, and those were the very guilds the five were now facing. The moment he saw it, Thousand City cried out,
Oh no! There are a lot of guild people. We're exposed, aren't we?
Qiancheng, who'd cut his teeth on ambushing monsters, was hypersensitive to being spotted.
Hey, don't panic. It's fine if we're exposed.
Can we still make the kill?
Even if we can't kill them, we'll at least make sure they know we're here.
At the entrance to the Sin City dungeon, quite a few guild members had indeed noticed Lord Grimm and his party, and they immediately reported back to their guilds. These people had only received instructions from their guild leaders to keep an eye on Lord Grimm and his crew, and to send a message if they were spotted. They hadn't been told what to do about it. After all, suppressing Yi Chu and his crew wasn't exactly a glorious affair. The club guilds, mindful of their image, tended to be a bit indirect about it. This was also true for the new players they'd just recruited in the new server, whose loyalty was still tenuous at best. At that moment, the major guilds all received the news that Lord Grimm and his party had appeared at the Sin City dungeon, more or less simultaneously. Their reactions, however, were far from uniform.
What the hell are these guys trying to pull?
Over at Misty Rainlock, they were feeling utterly aggrieved. They'd just suffered a major setback at Thousand Wave Lake and had chosen to back down. They said they were backing down, but that didn't mean they were just going to stand around wasting time. Naturally, they headed for the next best leveling area, running over to Sin City to grind some dungeons. But we hadn't even been here long before they tracked us down again. That's just not right.
Hey, did you do something to piss off Ye Chu?
Misty Rain-locked Tower sent a private message to Misty Rain Kang Kang. He was suspicious to that extent.
No, not at all.
Misty Rain Kang Kang explained that when he was dealing with Lord Grimm, he didn't know it was Ye Chu. There was a bit of back and forth over the dungeon strategy, but as for actually offending him, Misty Rain Kang Kang felt it was completely out of the question.
Then why has he been staring at our guild this whole time?
Could it just be a coincidence?
How could it possibly be that much of a coincidence?
Misty Rain's disbelief was, in the end, born from his own overconfidence.
So, what do we do now?
Misty Rain asked. The news traveled up, and the five brothers grinding away in the dungeon got it too. The story goes that in that instant, they got so flustered, they nearly wiped in that little dungeon. After clearing out a wave of monsters, the five of them halted their advance and headed to the discussion group to ask for instructions. Misty Rain Kang Kang couldn't very well admit in front of everyone that he had no plan, so he first consulted with the guild leader in a private chat window.
Tell the dungeon teams over in Sin City to hold off on entering the instance. I'm going to contact the other guilds.
The person who could become the head of a club's guild was certainly no indecisive fool. Now, Misty Rain-locked Tower was finally about to take some action. The crowd around the Sin City dungeon entrance suddenly swelled, but in a place already packed with players, the change went almost entirely unnoticed. These extra characters had all gathered at one particular entrance. They weren't doing anything, just standing there dumbly, their gazes fixed on the dungeon entrance as if they were about to go in at any moment. But if you paid close attention, you'd realize these characters had been standing there for at least 20 minutes and still hadn't entered the dungeon. As time continued to pass, some of the players at the dungeon entrance who lacked a party and were trying to organize a pickup group finally began to notice this strange bunch. They seemed to have formed a party, but it was unclear if they had enough members. They seemed to ignore all other party requests, just leaving them hanging there. Every ounce of their attention was fixed on the dungeon entrance, as if their very avatars were frozen in place. Players began to spot some truly famous character IDs. These IDs were well known for being at the top of the 10th server's level rankings, and now quite a few of them had shown up here. High-level characters still need to keep leveling. Sin City is a suitable dungeon for that, so this really isn't strange at all. But the strange thing was, they all chose to crowd right at the dungeon's entrance, and just like the earlier group, they lingered for a long time, showing no reaction whatsoever. Curious players watched for a moment longer, and now they were starting to notice the characters moving. Their feet shifted forward, as if they were about to charge at any moment. Their hands seemed to lift slightly, poised to strike at any moment. Their gazes had also shifted, now locked intently on a single point. Curious players quickly turned their view to follow the adjusted direction, and then they saw an even more famous ID, Lord Grim. Lord Grim might not have been the highest level character on the 10th server, but he was absolutely the most famous, and in the eyes of countless players, he was the most formidable. So these people were waiting for Lord Grim, the curious players wondered. Then they saw several other characters beside him. Before anyone could get a clear look at their names, the whole group vanished. If the characters at the dungeon entrance vanished, then of course they went inside. Outside the dungeon, the strange people stood frozen like statues once more. As for their leaders, the heads of the 7 great guilds, their faces had also turned several shades darker.
It's obvious. He's just toying with us.
Tiananqing from Herb Hall voiced his opinion. The one with the ugliest expression was Misty Rain Tower, the leader of the Misty Rain Guild. His guild had suffered the most losses tonight, and this whole operation had been his idea, something he'd eagerly rallied the other guilds to join, thinking he could stir up some trouble. And so they were all left standing there, looking miserable and helpless, stuck right outside the dungeon entrance. His thinking was actually quite simple. Their club was extremely image-conscious, so after Lord Grim had so publicly established his guild, they were stuck. Even though they held an absolute advantage in overall strength, for the sake of appearances, they could only stick to using proper, above-board methods. As for those effective methods, they could only be used behind the scenes. Now it was Lord Grim and his crew launching a powerful counterattack and hunt, chasing them all the way from Thousand Wave Lake to Sin City. If they could have gotten away with a full-scale guild war back at Thousand Wave Lake where there were no other players, here in Sin City, they had to be mindful of their reputation. But now, Lord Grim held the initiative. If he were to strike first against the major guilds in Sin City, any counterattack he launched would be justified and beyond reproach.